Chris Healy, State of Nevada Department of Wildlife, Public Information Officer for the Western Region based in Reno.
What's going on up in Tahoe now?
Well, of course, it's going to be a hot and dry summer. I mean, we're already having 90-degree temperatures in the 1st of June. Most years we're still worried about snow in the upper elevations. Combine that with 2 consecutive dry years, another hot summer coming, we expect a very busy nuisance bear year up at Lake Tahoe.
Why?
Well, it's natural foods dry up, and if they don't develop properly, then you have bears that are right now, of course, they've emerged from their dens. It's time to put on calories, put on pounds so they can get ready for the next time they have to go into their dens. So we experienced a little bit of this in 2007 when we had a very hot year after some dry years and had the biggest nuisance year that we've ever had. So the fact that it's hitting in June so early tells us that it's going to be very active, and people need to really be aware of that, the fact that they're living in bear country or adjacent to bear country, and that we just have more opportunities to have some really negative interactions between humans and black bears.
And recently that's happened with a big wood garage door can be torn apart by a bear, right?
Bears are very powerful, and they can be very dangerous to humans and to human property. The people at Incline Village have chosen to live in the midst of some really good bear habitat. And there's a real struggle up at Incline Village to try to get people to live with bears and live with them in I guess, some sort of harmony where the humans do the best they can to keep garbage and human food away from the bears to try to keep them as wild as possible. But when you put a major settlement right in the middle of what used to be black bear habitat, you're going to have some conflicts. And, of course, most of those come with the management of garbage. The management of garbage is not the Department of Wildlife's responsibility. It's the responsibility of the local entities up there. And there seems to be a real struggle over how to properly manage that. And that's kind of where the Department of Wildlife has been caught in the middle of that.
And in this case, though, we're talking about garbage inside of somebody's garage that really should seem like it's secure. So we're not really talking about the management company in particular. We're talking about people who think they have secured garbage. And then not only that, but then there's also people who are trying to foil your efforts to catch a bear. Is that frustrating to you? And can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, first of all, it's, garbage behind a wooden garage door may be secure from you breaking in or me breaking in, but it's certainly not secure from, one, the olfactory senses of a bear. Their sense of smell is tremendous. They can smell that little pot at the end of the rainbow, and breaking through a garage door to get it done is not a problem. And when bears start breaking into human structures, garages and then eventually houses, those are dangerous bears. No matter what anybody says about how the bears aren't dangerous, the bears can be very dangerous. They're very strong. And especially a mother with 3 cubs searching for food, if humans get in the way of their actions, especially in that mother-cub relationship, you could really have some major problems. So we need to establish the fact that bears can be dangerous. The Department of Wildlife, when we're called in to try to capture a bear, and most of the time, the fib that's going on up at the lake is that the Nevada Department of Wildlife kills every bear it touches. Totally not true, but certainly when you're trying to stimulate people to try to interfere with the actions of the Nevada Department of Wildlife, they seem to feel free to quote that every bear we touch is going to be a dead bear. And it's just not true.
It must be frustrating, though, to have people trying to foil your efforts to catch a bear, though. Right?
Well, it is frustrating, and it's frustrating for us, but I think it's very dangerous for the people up at Incline Village. People could be doing a little dance today that, hey, they foiled the Nevada Department of Wildlife from capturing a bear, when in fact, if we don't have a chance to capture the bear, do aversion conditioning, to train it not to interact with humans, to see humans as not a source of food, but as a source of bad, just overall, then they're actually hastening the day when a bear could actually become so dangerous that it hurts or kills somebody. And the Nevada Department of Wildlife, our main mission is to keep people safe, and mission number 2 is to try to keep the bears safe from the humans. So foiling the actions of the government, which seems to be popular in Nevada, might make people feel good. But in the long run, they're hastening the day where something dangerous will happen, and that certainly is not something the Department of Wildlife desires. I can't speak for the other side if they see that as something that they actually desire to happen.
And so we're talking about a family of bears that's been breaking in, or maybe 2 bears or something like that that's been breaking into a garage. Those are the ones you want to catch because they've been getting in there, getting garbage. It's dangerous because they're breaking into houses. What would you do? What's the next step? Let's say you catch them, then what happens?
Well, here's the thing: if you could capture them and tranquilize them, and then give them what we call the aversion conditioning treatment, where they're where after the tranquilization, when you're getting ready to release them further up the mountain from where they came from, you can use rubber bullets, you can use pepper spray, you pound on the side of the trap. What you're trying to do is scare the animals to where they just see humans as bad news, which really they are, because when animals interact with humans, it usually ends up negative for the animal. If we can't get that done, then the animal continues to behave in an increasingly dangerous way.
So you kind of tag it, see if you catch it again.
Right, you tag it, see if you capture it again. If it starts breaking into houses, that's really bad news for the humans who happen to own the house that it breaks into, and for the bear itself. Once a bear starts breaking into homes, that's a dangerous bear, and it continues to see homes as a place where it can go and get a meal, and that bear would have to be euthanized. Now, if we could have successfully captured that bear this weekend, then we give it the aversion conditioning. At least we've given it a chance to go through the process and hopefully change its ways. But because we couldn't capture it, we can't do that. So now the onus is not on us. The onus is on the people who, kind of misguided, are actually out there trying to dissuade the bears from being trapped, and therefore they're leaving a dangerous animal out there who will, because of their actions, will only increasingly become more dangerous as it breaks into homes. And that is something that we worry about. But right now, it's very difficult to change the path that this bear is following.
So what did you see up there? I guess you put the traps up there, and then there were a bunch of barking dogs or people hanging around with shotguns, or what did you see?
Well, you know what? I wasn't up there, so I can't tell you exactly what the scene was like. I can tell you that we placed a trap up there. We had permission from a landowner to do so, and the trap was up there from basically Friday, Saturday, and was removed either late Saturday or early Sunday. And the trap is no longer up there. Should we get a call that there's a bear causing some problems, certainly we'll be back with traps, and we'll try to do our job. We're not going to quit trying to do our job at the Nevada Department of Wildlife. We would just hope that some people could see their way to cooperating.
Why didn't you just leave it there?
Well, at a certain point, you take the trap away, the air, because the area just isn't, the tap was tampered with. There was ammonia-soaked teddy bears and things like that thrown in there. So the bears are dissuaded from the ammonia. Well, you can't surround all of Incline Village with ammonia or everybody's house with ammonia. So these bears are going to be wandering around. Now, are they part of the landscape there? Yes. And is it a great sight to see? Yes. But when they're becoming dangerous, we're hoping that people will give us a fighting chance to try to dissuade the bears from interacting with humans too much. Because, again, we're worried about that day where a bear that we could have saved, but we could, through aversion conditioning and trapping and aversion conditioning, well, we can't save it because people aren't assisting with us or actively are against us. Then they hasten the day where that bear could do some real damage, not just to property, but hurt or kill a human being.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that you want to say?
Well, if you live, here's a couple things that we like to tell people. If you're going to live in bear country, you need to be prepared to live with bears. It's become an increasing issue over the last 20 years. Something that we rarely had to deal with 2 decades ago is something that dominates a lot of our time now. So it's your responsibility to know that you keep food away from wildlife, whether it be a coyote, whether it be a black bear. All of those issues are going to rise up this year. And
2 decades ago, why wasn't it a problem back then? There was plenty of food for the bears to eat, or what?
Well, 2 decades ago, we had the end of a major drought. There was a 7-year drought period that started about 26 years ago or something, the late 80s, and it was a long drought. The bears actually changed their habits. They went away from being wildland bears eating nuts and berries, and a lot of them became garbage bears that would rely on human garbage for food. Meanwhile, they became used to being able to make that food living, so to speak, off of human beings, we ended up with multi-generational garbage bears where they don't know anything else but eating human garbage. And that is the issue we're dealing with now, trying to keep bears wild and trying to keep them away from human garbage. Now, and do we, the folks up at Incline have some pretty strong garbage ordinances. Do they, but there's no requirement for bear-proof garbage containers. And there they are right in the middle of some tremendous black bear habitat. And so there seems to be a real struggle with the populace of Incline Village trying to make their decisions how to handle their garbage and how to handle the bears that live up there.
Is it kind of an issue where I just don't want to have to spend $100 to buy a bear-proof container?
Couldn't tell you. That's a local issue, and that's the thing that people kind of expect the Nevada Department of Wildlife to show up and be able to solve that issue for them. Whereas the management of garbage is not the Department of Wildlife's bailiwick. We don't do that. We encourage them to make some solid decisions to save the bears and to at the same time save their property from bear incursions. They have some strong ordinances. It's up to Incline Village to I guess, reach a consensus to really actively go out and try to make their community bear aware and bear safe. And the tool of using bear-proof garbage containers is certainly one that you would hope they would consider, but it's not something the Nevada Department of Wildlife can mandate. We don't have that power.